Under the dense canopy of a prehistoric world, long before the rise of civilizations or even the whispers of myth, there walked beings who were not quite like us, yet not entirely different. These were the so-called superhumans of the ancient world. Massive in build, resilient to the extremes of nature, and with instincts sharper than any modern creature, they weren't products of fantasy, but the result of thousands of generations of evolutionary refinement. Before we unravel their mysterious mating rituals, don't forget to subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals, where we explore the forgotten pages of human history and evolution. These ancient beings, perhaps the closest to what we might call primal titans, weren't bound by the comforts or distractions of modern society. Their lives were dictated by the rhythms of nature, and survival wasn't just a struggle, it was a purpose. The superhumans we refer to weren't comic book creations, but the robust offshoots of early Homo species, like Homo heidelbergensis, and even certain populations of Neanderthals. They possessed immense physical strength, thick bones, larger cranial volumes, and adapted traits that made them exceptional in their environment. Their muscles didn't come from gym routines, but from hunting mammoths, building shelters in snowstorms, and crossing frozen rivers barefoot. But where did love, reproduction, or even family fit into this brutal world? That's the part often overlooked. Despite their ferocity and instinct-driven lives, mating wasn't a careless act. It was, in its own strange way, deeply strategic. These prehistoric superhumans relied heavily on visual cues, pheromonal signals, and social behaviors embedded in their tiny, close-knit clans. Females, often more selective than we imagine, observed strength, status, and survival skill when choosing a mate. The better the hunter, the more scars a man wore, the more likely he was to attract a partner. But remember, this wasn't about romance. It was about the assurance that their offspring would survive another freezing winter. Subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals as we go deeper into their social structures. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. Unlike many other animals, prehistoric mating was not always seasonal. In colder climates, like where Neanderthals lived, mating patterns aligned more with environmental availability, meaning periods of food abundance triggered mating urges. In warmer climates, however, sexual activity may have been more constant, leading to greater population clusters. These patterns weren't decided by calendars, but by the smell of blooming plants, the migration of animals, and the instinctive cues picked up from the environment. Imagine a world where the mating cycle is dictated not by mood or affection, but by the position of the sun, the direction of the wind, and the warmth in the soil. Even more fascinating was their courtship behavior. Males didn't simply approach and claim. Evidence from burial sites and symbolic objects suggests they engaged in early forms of gift-giving, like special stones, feathers, or animal bones. These weren't just random items. In many cases, they were rare or hard to find, meaning effort was involved. This tells us that even in a world of raw instinct and brute strength, displays of value and commitment existed. If that reminds you of how modern humans offer engagement rings or write love poems, it should, because the roots of love are far deeper than we think. Don't forget to subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals for more revelations about your ancient ancestors. Interestingly, mating wasn't always about pair bonding. Some superhuman groups practiced more communal or open mating systems, especially where survival depended on shared resources and cooperation. This helped maintain genetic diversity and ensure the survival of the entire group, not just an individual family. Females often had a say, yes, even back then. They chose mates not only based on muscle or hunting skill, but on social cohesion. Was the male aggressive with others? Was he cooperative? Could he be trusted to bring food, defend the group, or care for offspring if needed? These early decisions laid the groundwork for modern emotional bonds and parental care.
The birthing process was sacred and terrifying. Without tools, medicine, or any concept of hygiene, childbirth was a dangerous gamble. That's why the entire clan often supported pregnant females, protecting them from predators and ensuring they received better portions of food. This group-focused behavior wasn't just kindness, it was evolutionary insurance. Losing a single mother could mean losing multiple future generations. Their survival depended on it. And yet, even under these harsh conditions, they thrived. Children born from these unions inherited strong genes, better immunity, and an understanding of their brutal but beautiful world. We're only beginning to uncover how layered and intelligent these early mating rituals truly were. Stay with us and remember to subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals, because in Part 2, we'll reveal how these ancient bonds influenced the structure of early families, jealousy, power struggles, and even prehistoric taboos. What happened when mates were stolen? How did they deal with betrayal or competition within the tribe? The answers are darker and more human than you think. As the child grew, so did the complexity of relationships within these prehistoric groups. What began as a purely instinctual act, mating for survival, slowly evolved into something more structured. Pair bonding, though not always permanent, became more common in certain populations, especially where raising offspring demanded cooperation. Males who showed continued support to females and their children were more likely to pass on their genes. This wasn't a moral decision, it was strategic. Protecting a partner meant protecting one's own legacy. And in a world where one wrong step could mean death, any advantage was a powerful one. If you're fascinated by how deeply rooted our modern behaviors are, don't forget to subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals, your doorway to the earliest chapters of humanity. But nature rarely allows peace for long. Within these clans, tension brewed. Not every male had equal access to females, and not every union was born out of harmony. Dominance played a critical role. Stronger, more established males often asserted their place at the top of the mating hierarchy, sometimes through physical combat. These confrontations weren't just displays of strength, they were silent rules carved into the DNA of early society. The outcome decided who got to mate, who got cast aside, and who rose to temporary power. And while females had agency, the pressure of survival often pushed them to align with the strongest allies. Yet even this dominance had limits.
Jealousy, rejection, and betrayal weren't modern inventions. Archaeological sites have revealed skeletal remains with wounds that suggest violence between rivals, not in open war, but likely in interpersonal disputes. These weren't random killings. Many anthropologists believe they stemmed from social tensions, conflicts over mates, leadership, or betrayal. Imagine a hunter returning to find his partner gone, paired with another man in the tribe. The emotional weight of that betrayal wasn't less than what we feel today. It was just expressed through fists and stone tools instead of words. And yes, you guessed it. These are the echoes of the same feelings we carry now. Subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals if you're starting to see just how little has changed in the human heart. Perhaps most shocking is the possibility that even early humans had concepts of taboo, unspoken social rules about who could mate with whom. DNA evidence from Neanderthal and Denisovan remains shows that inbreeding was avoided more than expected. This suggests that even in their limited and isolated groups, early humans had mechanisms, either instinctive or social, to prevent mating between close relatives. Whether through scent, memory, or observation, they knew the risks. This reveals a primitive moral code forming beneath the surface, a code born not from law or religion, but from survival instinct and long-term thinking.
And what of loss? Mating was not always successful. Many unions ended with the death of one partner, whether through violence, childbirth, or the dangers of the wild. When that happened, how did the clan respond? Evidence of burial rituals, flowers left near bones, and the positioning of bodies suggest that grief was real, that perhaps even in their raw and rugged lives, these people felt something deeply human, mourning. And with that grief came memory, a longing for what was once shared, however briefly. It's in these quiet moments of ancient tenderness that we see ourselves reflected. The same pain, the same hope. As we step back from this ancient world, one truth remains. Mating was never just about reproduction. It was about legacy, strength, survival, and connection. These prehistoric superhumans, so often reduced to grunts and spears in popular imagination, lived rich emotional lives marked by choices, sacrifice, and unspoken rules. Their rituals shaped us. Their instincts live on in our behavior, our relationships, and even our heartbreak. So next time you wonder where human intimacy began, remember, it started in the firelight of caves, under the open stars, in moments of fear and warmth shared between two survivors. Thank you for exploring this lost chapter of humanity with us. Subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals for more forgotten truths from the dawn of our species. Because what lies in the past isn't just bones and stone, it's the blueprint of who we are.